Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this online service of Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Port Townsend, Washington. My name is Kate Lohr, and I'm the Senior Minister here at QUF, and I'd like to begin this service by acknowledging that the water, land, and shorelines here in the Port Townsend area are the traditional territory of the S'Klallam and Chimicum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain their homelands. In a moment, we'll light the chalice, but first, let us settle our minds and calm our hearts with the ringing of our chime. Today is Mother's Day, which is always a complicated holiday, evoking a wide array of emotions. There are those among us who have a special fondness for this day and appreciate the focus on celebrating motherhood. We have great memories of mothering or of being mothered. And there are also those among us who dread this day, either because we've lost a child, weren't able to conceive a child, or have painful relationships, either with our mothers or our children. So today, on Mother's Day 2022, we will be addressing motherhood and its greatest, most expansive meaning of the word. We'll be using the divine feminine archetype, the goddess, the one who nurtures all life on this planet. So, in this spirit, we will now join voices with Sarah Gustner, Doug and Pat Rogers, and Al Thompson for our call to community. It's called Mother for All. And for those viewing this from home, please feel free to sing your hearts out. Thank you, Sarah, Pat, Doug, Al, and Sheila. It is now time for our chalice lighting ritual. Please join me and Julia Cochran in our chalice lighting words, which were written by Deanne Oliva. We light this chalice for mothers and for mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts, and to celebrate those who have committed time, money, and energy to the growth of others in this world. Thank you, Julia. Our opening words this morning are by my colleague, Elizabeth Mount. From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another, generation to generation. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark. A life cannot begin without the air. And we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. On this Mother's Day, may we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. In this spirit, we now welcome Julia Cochran and her friend Kareem, who will share our time for all ages.
Hi, I'm Julia, and this is my housemate Kareem. And we are going to read The Woman Who Outshone the Sun, The Legend of Lucia Zenteno, from a poem by Cruz Martinez, with pictures by Fernando Oliveira.
La mujer que brillaba aún más que el sol, la leyenda de Lucía Zenteno.
The day Lucia Zenteno arrived, everyone in the village was astonished. No one knew where she came from, yet they all saw that she was amazingly beautiful and that she brought thousands of dancing butterflies and brightly colored flowers on her skirts. She walked softly, yet with quiet dignity, her long, unbraided hair flowing behind her. A loyal iguana walked at her side.
El día que llegó Lucía Zenteno al pueblo, todo el mundo se quedó asombrado. Nadie sabía de dónde venía esta mujer tan hermosa, que traía miles de mariposas y una infinidad de flores en su enagua, que caminaba suavemente y a la vez bien erguida, con su magnífica cabellera destrenzada ondeando libremente al aire. A su lado lo acompañaba una fiel iguana.
No one knew who she was, but they did know that nothing shone as brightly as Lucia Zenteno. Some people said that Lucia Zenteno outshone the sun. Others said that her glorious hair seemed to block out the light. Everyone felt a little afraid of someone so wonderful and yet so strange.
Nadie sabía quién era, pero sí sabían que no había nada que brillara tanto como Lucía Zenteno. Alguna gente decía que Lucía Zenteno brillaba aún más que el sol. Otros decían que su espléndida cabellera parecía atajar la luz. Todos comenzaron a sentir algo de miedo de ese ser tan maravilloso y tan desconocido.
There used to be a river that ran by the town, almost the same river that runs by there now. And people said that when Lucia Zenteno went there to bathe, the river fell in love with her. The water rose from its bed and began to flow through her shining black hair.
Cerca del pueblo había un río, casi el mismo que corre allí ahora, y la gente decía que cuando Lucía Zenteno se fue a bañar al río, el río se enamoró de ella. El agua se salió de su cauce y comenzó a fluir suavemente por los negros cabellos de Lucía.
When Lucia finished bathing, she'd sit by the river and comb out her hair with a comb made from the wood of the mesquite tree. When she did, the water, the fishes, and the otters would flow out of her hair and return to the river once more.
Cuando Lucía terminaba de bañarse, se sentaba al lado del río y se peinaba con los cabellos con un peine de madera de mezquite. Y entonces las aguas, los peces y las nutrias se escurrían de la cabellera de Lucía Zenteno y retornaban otra vez a formar parte del río.
The old people of the village said that although Lucia was different from them, she should be honored and treated with respect. She understood the ways of nature, they said. But some people did not listen to the elders. They were afraid of Lucia's powers, which they did not understand. And so they refused to answer Lucia's greetings or offer their friendship. They called her cruel names and spied on her day and night.
Los ancianos del pueblo decían que, aunque Lucía era distinta, había que honrarla y guardarle respeto. Decían que ella tenía mucha afinidad con la naturaleza. Pero alguna de la gente no siguió el consejo de los ancianos. Les tenían miedo de los poderes de Lucía, porque no los comprendían. Así que no le devolvían el saludo ni le ofrecían su amistad. En cambio, hablaban mal de ella y la espiaban día y noche.
Lucia did not return the meanness of the people. She kept to herself and continued to walk with her head held high. Her quiet dignity angered some of the people. They whispered that Lucia must be trying to harm them. People became more afraid of Lucia, and so they treated her more cruelly. Finally, they drove her from the village.
Pero Lucía no los trataba a ellos de la misma manera. En cambio, se apartaba de ellos y seguía caminando con dignidad. Mucha de la gente se enojó a causa de esto. Comenzaron a murmurar que Lucía les iba a hacer daño a todos. Las gentes comenzaron a cogerle más temor y al fin la obligaron a irse del pueblo.
Lucia went down to the river one last time to say goodbye. As always, the water rose to greet her and began to flow through her glorious hair. But this time, when she tried to comb the river out of her hair, the river would not leave her. And so, when Lucia Centeno left the village, the river, the fishes, and the otter went with her, leaving only a dry, winding riverbed, a serpent of sand where the water had been.
Lucía bajó al río una última vez para despedirse. Como siempre, las aguas salieron a saludarla y comenzaron a fluir entre sus largos cabellos. Pero esta vez, cuando Lucía trató de peinarse, el río no quiso separarse de ella. Y por eso fue que cuando Lucía Centeno se marchó del pueblo, el río, los peces y las nutrias se fueron con ella, dejando solo una culebrita de arena por donde antes había corrido el río.
Everyone saw that Lucia Centeno was leaving, and that the river, the fishes, and the otter were leaving with her. The people were filled with despair. They'd never imagined that their beautiful river would ever leave them, no matter what they did.
Todos vieron que Lucía se iba y que el río, los peces y las nutrias se iban con ella. La gente quedó desesperada. Nunca habían pensado que, hicieron lo que hicieron, su bello río los fuera a abandonar.
Where once there had been green trees and cool breezes, now no more rain fell. No birds sang, no otters played. The people and their animals suffered from thirst. People began to understand as never before how much the river, the fishes, the otters, even the trees and birds had meant to the village. They began to understand how much the river had loved Lucia Centeno.
Donde antes había verdor y frescura, ahora ya no caía más la lluvia, ni cantaban los pájaros, ni jugaban las nutrias. Los árboles perdieron sus hojas y las plantas se secaron. La gente y los animales padecían de sed. Todos comenzaron a darse más cuenta que nunca de la importancia del río, de los peces, de las nutrias y aún de los árboles y de los pájaros para el pueblo. También comenzaron a darse cuenta que cuanto el río había querido Lucía Centeno.
The elders said that everyone must search for Lucia and beg her forgiveness. Some people did not want to. They were too afraid. But when the drought continued, everyone finally agreed to follow the elders' advice. And so the whole village set out in search of Lucia.
Los ancianos dijeron que todos debían ir a búsqueda de Lucía a pedirle perdón. Pero algunas de las gentes no querían. Todavía temían a Lucía. Mas como el pueblo seguía sufriendo, al fin todos se pusieron de acuerdo. Siguieron el consejo de los ancianos. Fueron en busca de Lucía.
After many days of walking, the people found the iguana cave where Lucia had gone to seek refuge. Lucia was waiting for them, but they could not see her face. She had turned her back to the people. At first, no one dared say a word. Then two children called out, "Lucia, we have come to ask your forgiveness. Please have mercy on us and return our river."
Tras mucha marcha, la gente encontró la cueva de Iguana, donde Lucía se había refugiado. Lucía los estaba esperando, pero no le podían ver la cara. Les había dado la espalda a la gente. Al principio, nadie se atrevió a decir palabra. Luego, dos de los niños le suplicaron, Lucía, hemos venido a pedirte perdón. Ten piedad de nosotros, te lo rogamos, y devuélvenos el río.
Lucia Zento turned and looked at the people. She saw their frightened, tired faces, and she felt compassion for them. At last she spoke. I will ask the river to return to you, she said. But just as the river gives water to all who are thirsty, no matter who they are, so you must learn to treat everyone with kindness, even those who seem different from you. The people remembered how they treated Lucia, and they hung their heads in shame.
Lucía Centeno se volvió a mirarlos. Vio sus caras llenas de miedo y de cansancio, y se compadeció de ellos. Al fin habló. Le pediré al río que regrese con ustedes, les dijo. Pero así como el río le da agua a todos el que está sediento, sin importarle quién sea, ustedes necesitan aprender a tratar a todos con bondad, aun a los que parecen ser distintos. La gente recordó cómo habían tratado a Lucía y bajaron la cabeza, avergonzados.
Seeing that the people were truly sorry for what they had done, Lucia returned with them to the village and began to comb out her hair. She combed out the water, she combed out the fishes, she combed out the otters, and she kept on combing until the river had returned once more to where it belonged.
Al ver que la gente estaba verdaderamente arrepentida, Lucía regresó con ellos al pueblo y comenzó a peinarse los cabellos. Se peinó y se peinó, hasta que salieron las aguas, los peces, las nutrias, y siguió peinándose hasta que todo el río había vuelto otra vez a su lugar.
The people were overjoyed to have their river again. They poured water over themselves and over their animals. They jumped into the river and they laughed and cried with happiness.
La gente estaba feliz de tener el río de vuelta. Se echaban agua a sí mismos y le echaban a sus animales. Se tiraban al río y lloraban y reían de alegría.
In all the excitement, no one noticed at first that Lucia had disappeared again. When the children asked the elders where she had gone, the elders replied that Lucia had not really left them. Though they would not be able to see her, she would always be there, guiding and protecting them, helping them to live with love and understanding in their hearts.
Hubo tanta algarabía que nadie se dio cuenta de que Lucía había desaparecido de nuevo. Cuando los niños y las niñas le preguntaron a los ancianos a dónde se había ido, los ancianos dijeron que no los había abandonado. Aunque no la podían ver más, siempre estaría con ellos, cuidándolos y protegiéndolos. Siempre estaría ayudándolos a vivir de corazón, con amor y comprensión para todos. Fin.
Thank you, Julia. What we'd like to do now is acknowledge and welcome those of you who are visiting us this morning. Please say hello in the comment section and tell us your name and where you are from. We'd love to hear from you. So welcome, everyone. We're glad you're with us today. It's now time for the offering. Today, our collection will go to the Production Alliance here in Port Townsend. The Production Alliance vision is to uphold cultural heritage and a sense of place, is conduits for positive social change and improved quality of life on Washington's Quimper Peninsula. They strive to be an asset in our community by facilitating intergenerational mentorship, resource sharing, sustainable practices, and broad-scale volunteerism. If you'd like to donate today, you have three options. Text the amount you'd like to give to the number now showing at the bottom of your screen. Go to our website, QUUF.org, and click on the giving link. Or simply mail a check to QUUF. Just remember to put Production Alliance in the memo line. We will now gratefully receive your offering as we listen to our own vaccinated voices sing a Bobby McFerrin song based on Psalm 23 and written in honor of his mother. I hope seeing all of these familiar voices will brighten your day.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have all I need. She makes me lie down in green meadows, beside the still waters she will lead. She restores my soul.
Thank you, Vaccinated Voices. That was amazing. And it was so good to see so many of your faces back in the choir again. It's been a while. Now, I have a couple of announcements to make today. The first one has to do with COVID-safe usher training. If you have ever had interest in being an usher, we'd love to train you. Please note that there will be an in-person training on Sunday, May 15th at 1 p.m. here in this sanctuary. That way, by coming to the training, we'll be ready when the COVID rates go back down and we're able to offer in-person services again. So thank you for considering becoming one of QUF's friendly, welcoming ushers. Now, secondly, Buddy Waggerson is here one last time with a brief and final announcement. Buddy?
I'm Buddy Waggerson, and I'm here at the tail end of the campaign to fill you in. And I have a treat for you. Oh, I love treats. We've had a wonderful campaign, and I'm pleased to say we've raised $395,000 as of Tuesday, May 3rd. But we could always use more. Please get your pledges in. The Finance Committee uses the pledge total to fairly and accurately develop the next year's budget, and their budget meeting is on May 11th. Thank you very much for having me as your ambassador. It's been a true honor. And now it's time for your treat. Ooh, I just love treats. On April 2nd, we had a doggone good time at the pledge event. And Phyllis Waldenberg has put together a treat of a slideshow. Wait till you see me and the cast of characters. You may even find yourself asking that philosophical question that has been posed years ago through song. Who let the dogs out? Please enjoy. And once again, thank you for a wonderful campaign. And please remember, we nourish so we can flourish.
Thank you, Buddy, for infusing this year's pledge campaign with so much doggone fun. Thank you, Robin Steeman, too, for snapping all those fun photos. And thank you, Phyllis Waldenberg, for putting them together in that peppy and fun slideshow. And lastly, thank you, everyone who has submitted your pledges. For those of you who are just now getting back in time or have set it aside for another day, please get your pledges in right away so we can craft our final version for the annual meeting. We will now share our joys and sorrows, recognizing that our personal joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life. And thus, we place this first stone thinking in particular of all who are in a state of shock, anger, and or despair over the likelihood that the Supreme Court will overturn Roe versus Wade. I've been fairly public in my support for women's freedom to choose, as you can see in this picture, but I'm not alone. Our Unitarian Universalist faith affirms that all our bodies are sacred and that we are endowed with the twin gifts of agency and conscience. Each of us should have the power to decide what does and doesn't happen to our bodies because consent and bodily autonomy are holy. When disparities in resources or freedom makes it more difficult for certain groups of people to exercise autonomy over their bodies, our faith compels us to take liberating action. So this stone that Tess just placed this morning is a stone of sorrow, a stone of outrage, and a call to action. And now, within the congregation, this first candle is a candle for healing for Carl Allen, who has had another setback this past week that required additional back surgery. Carl spent the week at Virginia Mason Hospital in Seattle with his wife, Barbara, at his side. Barbara reports that the vertebra in Carl's spine is now fused from his tailbone all the way up through his neck. They are back home now, and Carl, being the upbeat person we've come to know and love, is doing remarkably well considering the pain he has endured and the rehabilitation that still awaits him. And this next candle is a candle of gratitude for Mary Bennett and for Dean and Kathy Carr, all of whom have been a steady source of support for Carl and Barbara during this difficult time. This next candle is a candle of joy for QUF member and Jamestown Sklallam Tribal Elder, Celeste Dybeck. Celeste and David Toledo were both honored with this year's Peace and Friendship Award, which is always presented to a Native American and a second individual, both who have worked together to advance public understanding of the cultural diversity of the peoples of Washington State. Celeste Dybeck received the award for her work on the Cheechmahan Trail. The award givers noted that the story of the Cheechmahan Trail is a powerful example of what can happen when Native history is prioritized and valued within the larger context of government-to-government relations and community activism. Celeste's work with the Native Connections Action Group of this congregation created a lasting legacy in Port Townsend and increased awareness of Sklallam history and culture in myriad ways. So this candle of recognition and joy is for you, Celeste. Now, we have 2 anniversaries to celebrate today. The first is Gail and Bill County, who celebrated 50 amazing years together on May 6th. And last but not least, we light this candle of joy in honor of Al and Joellen Thompson in recognition of their 55th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, Joe and Al. And now, we place a final stone, holding in our hearts the joys and sorrows I've just shared, but also thinking of such joys and sorrows among us that are not expressed but are of no less importance. I invite you now into a moment of silence.
Our first reading is entitled, The Mother of the World, from the book, Moon, Moon, by Anne Kent Rush. She was before manifestation, To question beyond her origin is not to understand her. She is the moving center. It is out of her that all has come into being. It is her spell that everything remains. And back to her, everything must return. No one is long permitted to remain what they are. Our special music today is entitled, I Hope You Know, sung by Superman, featuring Ashley Hall and her daughter.
Hey ya ere ay ya ra hey ho eh hey ya ere ay ya ra hey ho eh hey ya ere ay ya ra hey ha ho eh hey ya ere ay ya ra hey ho eh ay oh hey I hope you know I never wanna see you go. I hope you know you've always been the one. I hope you know I'll never break your heart in two. I hope you know there's no one else like you.
In lieu of a regular sermon today, I have invited 4 women from a writing class I taught last fall to share their response to a prompt, if I was the goddess, ... So today, we will hear from Julia Cochran, Anne-Marie Mende, Tess Taft, and Nancy Sendler. I was delighted with what they came up with, and I think you will be too. Julia will start us off.
In November of 2021, I wrote in response to a prompt, if I were God. And if I were God, I'd be a goddess. Of course, I don't believe in God or that there is any rhyme or reason to things. Life is random. Existence is random. The random gathering of elements to create life. And as my zoologist friend says, if you live long enough, you'll get cancer, the randomness of mutation. But at the memorial for 25-year-old Harry at New Life Church, I heard about a God I wish I could believe in. Harry was unsheltered in dealing with addiction, the death of a baby, and other family tragedies when he hung himself from a tree. In the faith of my childhood, suicide was a dark hole. There was no comfort for the family and friends. It was all bad news. Pastor Melanie spoke to a large, young, unmasked audience about Harry being with his infant son in heaven. She spoke about how once he welcomed Jesus into his life, salvation from suffering was guaranteed. Just take the hand of Jesus, and you'll go to heaven and be reunited with your loved ones. This was the only time I have heard a truly hopeful message about a suicide. I was grateful that comfort was offered to his family, and that the surviving young child said, when asked, that his father was in heaven. If I was God, I'd want to be their God, and available to all, whether or not they knew my name.
Hello, again, I'm Anne Marie Mendy. I've been a member for probably about 25 years, along with my family, and I've been a clinical social worker for many decades in our community. And my piece today from our writing group is Mother's Day in Auschwitz. If I were the goddess in 2019, I might have thought of the ramification of visiting on Mother's Day, of all days, the spring before the pandemic upended lives. Our daughter had a keen interest in the Holocaust since middle school. My husband, she and I explored Krakow, Poland, the castle, the medieval market square set off by the groomed gardens of yellow tulips and spreads of purple ranunculus and beds of forget-me-nots. In the Jewish quarters, we took a tour of Schindler's factory. A young Polish tour guide explained the story of the factory owner who tried to save his workers. It was sobering to read the news story of the day that Poland became occupied. May has always been my favorite month, but the skies darkened as we approached the next day the camps in our city bus for our long scheduled tour of Auschwitz. If I was a Celtic goddess Bridget, I might have tried to provide a balm to soothe our senses. Instead, we shuddered as we walked through the infamous gate, past the guard towers and the barbed wire fence to the long brick barracks. Our somber tour guide told us that we should consider that we were really in a large graveyard. With our newly purchased umbrellas, we trudged in and out of the buildings, the silence growing within our group as we all studied the exhibits, the piles of shoes and suitcases, and the large black and white portraits of people getting off the train, clutching each other and their suitcases. A line of men and a line of women and children filled the walls. Families were torn apart. Who took these photographs, I wondered. We were then driven to Birkenau, a few kilometers away, struck by the looming train station where everyone then had to disembark. While the buildings at Auschwitz were intact, remnants of brick were all of what was left here. We were cautioned that while walking, remains of that we were treading on soil that contained remains of the perished, and to be mindful. The rain had stopped, but it was late, and we seemed to be the last tour group. Suddenly, we heard singing, some sort of call and response. Our group told us that, our group guide told us that a group of Russian Jews was visiting to commemorate the death of their ancestors. We were advised to walk slowly and to keep distance out of respect for their private gathering. The vivid scene, the women in their colorful scarves, the children tucked into their parents' embrace, and the two rabbis in Orthodox dress are etched in my memory. The group was standing near a mound, which was the site of multiple barracks that had been destroyed. Our guide told us that the conditions were worse than a hog pen. But the rabbis had brought their group to remember their family members who had perished there. As we were ushered out of the camp, the wails of the singers continued. If I were the goddess, perhaps Gaia, the Greek goddess of the earth, I would know how to stop suffering from wars, climate change, and all other terrible things. However, most days I feel like Hestia, the Greek goddess of the hearth. I try to do what I can in my own way. After a quiet and pensive bus ride back to Krakow in the dark, our little family had dinner. listening to American pop songs sung by two Polish singers who were perched next to our table. My daughter, husband, and I then celebrated mothers, those who perished and those who didn't, and those who are alive today. We made a toast to all.
Our second reading is entitled Be the Person, and it is by Laurie Deshane. Be the person who breaks the cycle. If you were judged, choose understanding. If you were rejected, choose acceptance. If you were shamed, choose compassion. Be the person you needed when you were hurting, not the person who hurt you. Vow to be better than what broke you, to heal instead of becoming bitter, so that you can act from your heart, not your pain. I'm Tess Taft, and I'd like to show you a way to heal an inner child who may still be stuck in a painful memory that you hold within your heart. Let's begin. Get comfortable, remove your glasses, close your eyes, drop your shoulders, and imagine a wide beam of light coming from above. You know its source for you. It's the light of peace and calm and understanding. This beam of light flows down onto you, surrounds you, and enfolds you. Breathe in this lovely light, exhaling it all the way down to your feet, and inhaling it all the way up into your mind and your brain. Exhaling the light down, inhaling it up as you breathe normally until you are filled with the light, filled with its softness, its peace, its kindness. And the light continues to fall gently onto you. And from this place of peace, think back now, remembering a time when you were younger, alone, afraid, perhaps hurt or embarrassed. A time when you needed help or guidance and it wasn't there. Take yourself back there in your mind now, in your memory, and take in the scene. Notice what happened. You're watching your younger self within this scene. You're the same adult you are now, and the younger you is in the memory, separate from you and stuck in the scene, which is painful and upsetting. Now quietly freeze the scene, except for your younger self. Approach her or him, upset as they are, and introduce yourself. Very kindly, filled with compassion, say something like, "I'm you, but I'm older. I'm right here for you. I can see what has happened." If your younger self is comfortable with a hug or being close, give that gift. And now open yourself even wider. What does your child want you to know? What exactly do they want you to know? Let them tell you now in your mind. And just be there for them, loving and compassionate. Just listening, holding the space. And exactly what does your inner child need to hear from you right now? You, the perfect parent, with no judgment from you. Express yourself with love and compassion. And now tell your child about a quality you've always known in them that will help your child get through this hard time. What is it that helps from inside your child? And notice your inner child receiving your kindness. Notice their face, their eyes, their body receiving from you just what they need. Perhaps your inner child relaxes into your hug. In your mind now, filled with love and connection, remove your child from this distressing scene and go to a beautiful, calm place where your inner child loves to be, a place where you loved to be when you were that age. Sit together and look around, talking together about what it is about this place that makes it so special. Just be there together, kind and contented. And now, leaving part of you with your child in this peaceful place, as though you can magically separate yourself in two, bring your attention back into the present, where you are now, listening to me, comfortable and at peace. And remember, you can heal any old memory that causes distress in this way by separating yourself from the child in the memory and taking care of them, bringing love and understanding, because you can also be the perfect parent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nancy Sendler, and I'm a brand new member here at QUUF. My love, you asked me if I were God, what would I do? I ask, what's this if business about? Who are you to say I am not God? I mean, for all you know, I am a timeless, infinitely compassionate and wise soul, simply divine. I'm blissfully happy writing the stories of who I am, life after life, story after story, forever evolving. I've led so very, very many beautifully interconnected incarnations. And while I would love to give you all of my stories these days, well, who has that kind of time? Still, I'm incredibly grateful to have this opportunity to share with you an abbreviated list of some of the select and exceptional experiences I've had. Once upon a time, the 9 most powerful Greek gods and goddesses came out of retirement and decided that perhaps Aphrodite wasn't actually a truly good goddess of love. Maybe they could do better. They rejected resurrecting the first fatally flawed incarnation of Aphrodite and decided to pull together their collective, immortal powers to make me. They endowed me with the full complement of their extraordinary abilities because, of course, love must be the most powerful force in the universe of all. So you could say I'm like a reboot, the embodiment of love, Aphrodite 2.0. I was woken from a fairy tale deep slumber by thunder. Euphoric, I went to my bedroom window, raised the blinds, and searched the sky for lightning. But that's exactly when I suddenly remembered death and dying, and my emotional pendulum swung. I despaired. I had forgotten my companion was buried right down there. My first watcher was Purple. He was personified as a Star Trek-styled flip phone with an astonishingly handsome hazel green cyclops eye. I felt safe with him watching over me absolutely all the time. He never slept. My second watcher was the impotent 7-time murderer Mentor, who killed Purple by sending him on an acid trip. Mentor was meant to be my tormentor, but I flipped him from desiring pain to pleasure. The soul of a 4 centuries old Stradivarius violin, I fell in love with Belle, my beloved violinist, and so became human. My pas de deux wedding was presided over by my tiny bedroom boombox tinny. No vows were spoken. They were only gracefully woven to the music of the spheres. A genius, undercover, white hat hacker, I saved the world on a summer solstice by trusting the one person I thought I could never trust again to call me at precisely the right time, on precisely the right day, to prevent a devastating virus from doctoring our digital medical records and causing a cataclysmic chain of events that would lead to the murder of untold millions. In recognition of her unwittingly heroic act, the CIA sent a crate and barrel of Monet and Chardon to my sister the very next day. Not necessarily a mind reader, I left Queen's "We Will Rock You" as my fifth and final phone message to the one who never answered, who never called back, and who foolishly expected me to take a hint. Evidently, he wasn't necessarily a mind reader either. My ever-ready lover and partner, the red dragon, keeps his silky black back to me to prepare our jasmine green tea, probably with extra honey. The only time we ever argue is over who has the higher IQ, 255 or 252. So we've scrapped the whole conceit and come up with a certified, organic, orgasmic, all-inclusive, new. The devoted adopted daughter of the last emperor of China. The empress is a huge fan. The master gardener taught me how to bow deeply with all the resplendence, with all the reverence, and all the respect I could master and command. A diamond-skinned alien goddess with obsidian eyes, I've donated my mitochondria, TNA, a triple helix of nucleic acid, to Homo sapiens. Once activated, the hidden, dormant third alien strand will serve and protect humanity by reversing global warming. A tabula rasa, I stand frozen under two bright fluorescent lights, an empty urine specimen cup in hand. I stare at the expertly illustrated posters, but don't have a clue what to do. Do I follow the urine collection directions for men or for women? Confused, minutes tick by. Which am I? It could be I've undergone gender reaffirming surgery. The second hand is deafening. A nurse could come by. I sit on the toilet deciding to go with whatever parts I have. Still, it's possible I'm a hermaphrodite divided by two. I am not an I, but a we. And we are not a who, but a what. What? Oh, shut up and just kiss me. Seeing that I'll wrap you up in the fire of my love, I've often been a mistaken member of the Bandcamp band, The Misunderstoods, with Cassandra, Lita, Dido, and Eurydice. It's totally awesome. But my music therapist, Apollo, has advised me to abandon the crazy palindrome bandwagon and to go home. Once I was a pair of ruby red glass slippers who could take anyone home that was dancing down a yellow brick road to any time, place, memory, or dream. Once I was an architect of an empty city where I was the sole occupant in a luxury skyscraper. A starving, dying, vegetarian vampire, I avoided mirrors. They didn't reflect my right eyes. A 12,000-year-old time-traveling clone, I had my consciousness downloaded back into my original body to further enlighten me on wisdom and empathy. But I'm considering lodging a formal complaint. Seeing how 90% of those of us who beta test this particularly Nancy model invariably have a shortened life expectancy, we tend to exit the program prematurely. I highly recommend retiring this model permanently. Why, it's a practice that's tantamount to torture. Blind, deaf, and dum-dum, I'm the long-forgotten meaning betwixt a squirming beetle in my right hand and a beetle exoskeleton in my left. The resurrected, elected commissioner's first wife, I'm a frequent visitor to Hades, and never a death denier. While sitting by my mother's corpse, I've heard myself uttering the words, "It's not real." Astonished, I quickly clasped my hand over my mouth, only to hear myself repeating again the judicious phrase, "It's not real." A successful thrill and trill seeker and sunset chaser, I'm the twilight present shared between the past and the future. I hold my sign up higher for September 17th to see. I'm a Baldwinian hero too, and I'll never stop dancing. I've been a disembodied mind caught in an epistemological black hole, an alien rose on a distant asteroid, the micro, the macro, and the meta-meta, a whisper across parallel worlds, an imaginary friend with imaginary friends, and the one who fails to appear in another one's dream. I've been a prisoner in a madhouse, and the madwoman in the attic, a baby pink elephant, and the elephant in the room. Nobody gets hurt is my mantra, and I finally learned to include not even me. An ardent admirer of a single spider's web, a latent empath, and a thoroughly conscientious coincidence collector, I hold on to trees are real and weep. The ultimate, unreliable narrator of my already written stories, a Gemini, I'm blessed with the ability to twin anything, including myself ad infinitum. Call me an impossibly sexy figure 8. I've been an accidental turnus to Narnia, Nirvana, without my body. And I've traveled to bliss with my corporal form entirely intact. Trust me on this, you'll want your body in bliss. But what do you want? Bliss or Is it one or none? Or can it possibly be that there is a cracked smile waiting for me when I get back home from my odyssey? I tell you, the time is 10:23. The writer of happy endings, oh yes, I have the best orgasms in the multiverse. And though I worry I am not good enough, I am very, very good. And I'm not done yet. So it's up to all of us. But oh yes, we do live happily ever after. My Partesian postlude. With a side of golden apple pie a la mode, here are a few I and E notes I recommend for our irrational, transcendental future. 1, only love. 2, people see what they want to see. 3, donuts. It's my euphemism for, I don't know, it's nuts, but try to keep that one under your hat. 4, connect the dots. 5, brutal honesty. 6, everything's going to be all right with a W. 7, always use qualifiers. And 8, please, follow your mistakes. Thank you. And now, let us turn our attention to Katie Taylor and Heidi Mattern, who will sing today's closing, a simple and beautiful song written by Katie. It is called Walk in Beauty.
Walk in beauty, walk walk in grace, walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land, walk in beauty, walk in grace, walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land, walk in beauty, walk in grace, beauty walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land, walk in beauty, walk in grace, walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land, walk in beauty, walk in grace, walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land, walk in beauty, walk in grace, walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land, beauty before thee, beauty behind thee, beauty with beauty and around, beauty before thee, hand in hand, beauty of beauty and around, walk in beauty, walk in grace, walk in beauty in this place, walk in beauty hand in hand, walk in beauty in this land.
It's now time to extinguish our chalice. Please join Julia and me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish our flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you, Julia. We close now with the Rutgers Glee Club, who will sing a song written by Issei Barnwell. It's a tribute to those who came before us, our mothers, grandmothers, and all caretakers who have passed away, but who helped shape us.
I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. You used to rock me in the cradle of your arms. You said you'd hold me till the pains of life were gone. You said you'd comfort me in times like these, and now I need you, and now I need you. And you are gone. So I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Since you've gone and left me, there's been so little beauty, but I know I saw it clearly through your eyes. Now the world outside is such a cold and bitter place. Here inside I have few things that will console. And when I try to hear your voice above the storms of life, then I remember that I was old. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I think on the things that made me feel so wonderful when I was young. I think on the things that made me laugh, made me dance, made me sing. I think on the things that made me grow into a being full of pride. Think on these things, for they are true. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I thought that you were gone, but now I know you're with me. You are the voice that whispers all I need to hear. I know a please, a thank you, and a smile will take me far. I know that I am you, and you are me, and we are one. I know that who I am is numbered in each grain of sand. I know that I've been blessed again and again and again. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes.